In a small Nigerian town, Adaora lived a life of quiet endurance. Orphaned young, she had no family, no relatives to call upon, and no friends to lean on. Her world revolved around a modest laundry shop where she worked. The shop doubled as her home. A faded mat in the corner served as her bed, and a chipped plate with a single cup were her only possessions. Every morning she whispered to herself, "At least I have somewhere to stay." That fragile comfort shattered one fateful day. A well-dressed woman named Ifeoma stormed into the shop in yellow lace, colliding with Adaora at the doorway. A splash of water stained her expensive outfit. "Are you blind?" Ifeoma barked, her voice slicing through the morning air. "I'm very sorry, Ma. Please let me clean it," Adaora begged, reaching out. "Don't touch me, dirty girl," Ifeoma snapped. She stormed into the office, where Adaora's boss, Mr. Okonkwo, sat. Moments later, he emerged, his eyes heavy with guilt. "Adaora," he said softly, "you've been a good worker, but I can't afford to lose Madam Ifeoma's business. You'll have to leave." Adaora dropped to her knees, tears streaming. "Please, sir, this is my only home. I will work harder." But his face turned away. And just like that, Adaora's fragile life crumbled. With nowhere to turn, Adaora wandered the streets as darkness fell. The town that had always been noisy with Okada riders and traders was now eerily quiet. Her slippers scraped against rough tar as she clutched her bag tightly to her chest. She passed food stalls closing for the night, the air laced with the smell of roasted plantain, akara, and fried yam. Her empty stomach growled painfully, but the vendor's suspicious eyes warned her not to linger. Eventually, she stumbled upon an uncompleted building. Its walls stood tall but hollow, a skeleton of cement and iron rods. She hesitated. Stories of thieves and spirits haunted her thoughts, but exhaustion dragged her inside. Dropping her bag in a corner, she wrapped herself in her old wrapper, the cement floor pressing hard against her bones. She whispered through sobs, "God, I beg, don't forsake me." That night was endless. Every sound made her flinch. Rats scurrying, wind whistling, distant footsteps outside. Her tears soaked the wrapper as she stared into the darkness, realizing how truly alone she was. Morning came with the clatter of footsteps and voices. Adaora sat up to see men entering the site, construction workers in dusty helmets carrying tools. "Who are you?" one of them demanded. "I'm sorry, sir," she stammered, bowing slightly. "I lost my job. I only want to work. Please let me stay." The men exchanged doubtful glances. "This is not work for women. Can you carry blocks? Mix cement?" Adaora straightened her back. "Yes, sir. I will do anything." Later that morning, their boss, Engineer Bala, arrived. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that tolerated no nonsense, he listened as the men explained. He studied Adaora from head to toe. "This place is not for play," he warned. "If you cannot keep up, you leave. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," Adaora said firmly. The next day, Adaora began work. The blazing sun bore down on her as she carried heavy blocks on her head, fetched water from a distant tap, and mixed sand with cement until her hands burned. Her back ached, her arms trembled, but she pressed on, whispering prayers between clenched teeth. "This girl day strong, oh," one worker muttered. Another laughed. "She works harder than some of the boys here." Adaora ignored them. To her, this was survival, not competition. If she failed here, she had nothing left. A week later, the site's owner, Chief Chike, arrived. Known in town as a wealthy businessman, he stepped out of his car in a crisp white shirt and polished shoes. His presence commanded respect instantly. As he inspected the site, his gaze fell on Adaora, balancing a stack of blocks on her head. "Who is that girl?" he asked sharply. The engineer explained her story. Chike frowned. "Call her here." Adaora hurried over, dust and sweat covering her clothes. "Good morning, sir," she greeted nervously. "Young lady, why are you doing this kind of work? Do you not know it is dangerous?" Chike asked, his tone firm but curious. "I have no choice, sir," she said softly. "I must survive." Chike studied her for a moment, then sighed. "This is no life for you. You cannot continue here." That evening, The engineer told her she was dismissed. Adaora packed her small bag once again, her heart breaking. Days later, Chaik went to the laundry to collect his clothes. In casual conversation, he learned the truth. It was Ifeoma, his own fiancée, who had forced Adaora's dismissal. That night, Adaora shuffled barefoot along a lonely road, her stomach empty. The night air was cold, and she wrapped her wrapper tightly around herself. Suddenly, bright headlights lit her path. A black SUV slowed beside her, the window rolling down. "Adaora," a familiar voice called. She froze. It was Chaik. "What are you doing here at this time?" he asked, concern in his voice. I have nowhere to go," she whispered. Chaik shook his head. "Get in. I cannot leave you here." After a moment of hesitation, Adaora climbed into the car, her heart pounding with fear and relief. Chaik's mansion was like something from another world. Bright lights glowed through wide glass windows, gardens trimmed neatly, fountains sparkling in the moonlight. Adaora gasped quietly, feeling like an intruder. Inside, Ifeoma was waiting. Her eyes widened in fury when she saw Adaora. "Chaik, who is this?" she demanded. "This is Adaora. She will be staying here," Chaik said firmly. "In this house. This filthy girl." Ifeoma's voice rose, filled with disgust. "Yes, it's my decision," Ifeoma hissed, glaring daggers at Adaora before storming off. Adaora clutched her bag tighter, her heart heavy. From that day, Ifeoma made Adaora's life miserable. She criticized her sweeping, mocked her cooking, and often denied her food. "This house is not a free-for-all," she sneered one evening. "If you're hungry, manage your own scraps." One night, Chaik returned home early and found Adaora sitting alone in the kitchen, her stomach empty. "Have you eaten?" he asked gently. Adaora shook her head. "No, sir." His face hardened. He marched to the living room, where Ifeoma scrolled through her phone. "Why are you starving her?" he demanded. Ifeoma shrugged. "Don't spoil her, Chaik. She will become too comfortable." Chaik's voice cut sharply. "She works here, not suffers here. Serve her food now." Reluctantly, Ifeoma threw down a miserable portion of watery soup and a piece of yam. Adaora whispered, "Thank you, Ma," tears falling into her meal. One night, Ifeoma staggered home drunk, her makeup smeared, her clothes stinking of alcohol. She vomited in the living room, and Adaora rushed to her aid. "Madam, let me help you," Adaora said, dabbing her forehead with a wet cloth. But instead of gratitude, Ifeoma grabbed the bowl of water and poured it over Adaora's head. "How dare you touch me with your filthy hands?" she screamed. At that moment, Chaik entered. Seeing Adaora drenched and trembling, he turned to Ifeoma, his voice icy. "Have you no heart? She helped you, yet you insult her." For the first time, Adaora felt shielded, and something warm passed between her and Chaik that neither could ignore. A few days later, Chaik came home with shopping bags. He handed one to Ifeoma and another to Adaora. "For me?" Adaora gasped. "Yes, you've worked hard. You deserve it." Tears filled her eyes as she held the simple but elegant gown. "Nobody has ever given me a gift before." But Ifeoma exploded. "So, this is what it's about? You're favoring her now?" That night, consumed by jealousy, she dragged Adaora's gown outside and set it on fire. "No!" Adaora cried, clutching her chest. "You'll never be good enough for him." Ifeoma sneered as the flames devoured the dress. Pretending peace, Ifeoma called Adaora one afternoon. "My sister," she said sweetly, "forgive my harshness. Make me some noodles." Happy at the thought of reconciliation, Adaora prepared the meal with care. But moments later, Ifeoma screamed, "She poisoned me." "What?" Adaora gasped. Chaik rushed in as Ifeoma wailed, pointing at Adaora. "I swear I didn't." Adaora cried. To prove her innocence, she grabbed the bowl and ate. Seconds later, her stomach twisted in agony. "Chaik," she gasped before collapsing. He scooped her into his arms, racing her to the hospital. Later, CCTV footage revealed Ifeoma's deceit. Furious, Chaik ordered her out of his house forever. In the hospital, Chaik stayed by Adaora's bedside daily. When she awoke, Weak but alive, his relief was clear. "You told me you wanted to return to school," he reminded her gently. "I've made the arrangements. I'll cover the fees. This is your chance to chase your dreams." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Sir, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to," he replied softly. "You're family now." For the first time, Adaora believed in a future beyond survival. Weeks later, Chike confessed, his voice steady but tender. "Adaora, I've fallen in love with you. It's not about where you came from. It's about who you are. And you are extraordinary." Her heart raced. She was speechless, yet something deep inside her stirred. Months later, Chike stood before her in a neat suit, holding a velvet box. "Be my wife," he said. Through tears, she whispered yes. Their wedding was small but beautiful, filled with friends and family. Adaora wore a modest white gown, glowing with joy. From a homeless maid to the cherished wife of a kind man, Adaora's story became proof that humility, perseverance, and love can turn ashes into grace.